Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются издевательствам, геноциду со стороны киевского режима.
Ever since Vladimir Putin, the Kremlin himself, declared war on Ukraine, the media reached international news and it has been in every newspaper ever since.
Кто бы не пытался помешать нам, а тем более создать угрозы для нашей страны, для нашего народа, должны знать, что ответ России будет незамедлительным и приведет вас к таким последствиям, с которыми вы в своей истории еще никогда не сталкивались.
Всім доброго ранку, українці. Зараз в мережі дуже багато з'явилось фейкової інформації, що, немов я закликаю складати зброю нашу армію і йде евакуація. Значить так, я тут, ніяку зброю ми не складемо, будемо захищати нашу державу, тому що наша зброя – це наша правда. Наша правда в тому, що це наша земля, наша країна, наші діти, і ми все це будемо захищати.
First, let's go back to where it all began. Ukraine was a part of the Russian Empire in the 18th and 19th centuries. In 1917, Russia Revolution brought down the empire and the region caused a civil war. Ukraine gained independence after war but quickly lost itself by the newly created Soviet Union as one of its first republics. Ukraine was now under Soviet Union control, or known as Warsaw Pact after the NATO agreements. By late 1991, Ukraine began declaring independence from Soviet domination. The only countries left between NATO and Soviet Union border were Georgia and Ukraine, prime targets for Russia. When time came to sign the deal for Ukraine to become a NATO member, Putin himself refused and chose to threaten or strengthen ties with Ukraine. On February 24, 2022, Putin launched a full-scale invasion in Ukraine, or what he calls a special military operation. Russian military crossed the border to Ukraine there following orders from President Vladimir Putin itself. People of Ukraine started to pack up and flee the country as Russian tanks and jets were seen in the country. Russia's plan: hit the infrastructure and break the will of the people.
Как у нас пламя было выше дома.
This is the state of Ukraine as of now. That number is on top of the more than 1 million who've already made their way into Germany, and the more than 4.8 million Ukrainians who have registered as refugees in Europe since February. In total, nearly 8 million people have fled the country, another 6.5 million have moved within Ukraine. It is the constant of months and months of war, a humanitarian tragedy that has gotten quieter but never stopped. Russia's invasion of Ukraine created the fastest and one of the largest displacements of people since World War II. On October 10, Russia unleashed an air barrage across Ukraine, targeting major cities including Kiev in some of the most aggressive bombing campaigns since the start of the invasion. This fall, Moscow unleashed a series of all-out assaults on Ukraine from the sky, targeting civilian and energy infrastructure. The Ukrainian government says about 50% of its infrastructure is now damaged, and the entire country is facing disruptions to electricity, heat, and water as it gets colder. Soon after that, world leaders have spoken out and used sanctions, hard sanctions against Russia.
We now have war in Europe on a scale and of a type we thought belonged to history.
Anti-war protests exploded all around the world in order to stop the war and support the victim, in this case Ukraine. NATO has activated its force for the first time in history as the world watches carefully as to not wanting for history to repeat itself, in this case, the World War III.